Today we're going over the Past Preconceptions banner in Fire Emblem Heroes, also known as the Spring 2025 banner. This year's bunny alts will go to May, Eitr, Veyle, and a hopping harmonic pair of Plumeria and Olivia. We'll cover everyone's stats and go over some general playstyle and build ideas. The 4-star focus unit for this banner is Spring May. You can get her at 4 and 5-star rarity. May is taking on Bowie's Green Infantry Mage class. For stats, she has 40 HP, 48 attack, 41 speed, 17 defense, and 41 res. May will have triple super boons for attack, speed, and resistance, all good picks. Her base attack is excellent, and her speed and res are decent. These will come at the cost of any and all defense though. For old skills, May has Glaciers as her special. She has attack and speed 03 for self-buffing, and her rare skill is Magic No Follow. We skipped February, but 2025 does indeed seem to be the year where seasonal 4-star focus units are going to get tier 4 skills. Now, for her weapon, May has Spring Air Egg plus 12 Might and Hearts but Green Tone. For foes within 3 rows or 3 columns, they are inflicted with -5 to all stats and defensive tempo, aka they lose any extra special charging effects. If above 25% HP, May will deal true damage equal to X times 5. X is the number of allies within 3 spaces of the target, including the target. If there are 3 enemies around the main target, then you get the max 20 true damage from this weapon. Spring Air Egg is good for an enhanceable green tome, it's just that the bar is set pretty low outside the arcane options. Similar to Valentine's Hubert's Tome, this is another true damage stacking weapon. The support aspect is a Spectrum Krugs buff. Instead of the free fall up effect, we have the rarer defensive tempo. Basically, this neutralizes blade and bread type cooldown, so enemies cannot get -2 cooldown on an action. Now, if you pair defensive tempo with guard, then the enemy cannot charge special unless they have no guard or instant cooldown. It's a strong combo for general gameplay, but many units can get around this, especially with how much instant cooldown or pre-impulsed effects have been introduced. My main issue with Spring Air Egg is that it's kind of tough for a low defense mage to make use of defensive tempo. You ideally want guard to prevent special charging, but everyone is getting a free distant counter echo soon, and people have put DC on every unit for 8 years. Physical damage units and dragons do not need special to roast May alive. Now for the most part, this is going to benefit bulkier teammates more, although May can use it against enemy mages. With that being said, we're left with a 20 true damage weapon with -5 stat debuffs. May isn't the fastest, but with Magic No Follow, you can commit to a speed build. She can hit decently hard, but is going to die to anything physical. Now you need Desperation or a sweep effect to avoid getting hit. For cooldown, you can run Flash Sparrow, Flashing Blade, or Attack and Speed Pledge instead of the Tier 4 Oath. Times Pulse within the cooldown perk would trigger Flare or Iceberg. If May is tanking hits, she could also proc Glaciers or Frost Moon if you have bread type cooldown. If you like to stack true damage, there is Slice with Sparrow or Mirror, Occultist Strike, or Celica's Resonance. There are many no follow-up skills in other slots now, like Perfect Attack and Speed or Odds Wave 4. You could use those to slot in Resonance, but May already has that 50% to your piercing via Magic No Follow. Now, for other builds, both Arcane Caliburnus and Truthfire are in the Divine Code shop. Caliburnus is better than most regular heritable options, but Truthfire is just way more enticing. May can take Rearmed Ledena's whole kit, Slime Mirror, Occultist Strike, and Attack and Res Ploy. Her base res isn't the best, but get a res boon and res refine on Truthfire, and it's okay. Lelena's kit is fine, but May can also try to copy her AoE usage. Truthfire is the only arcane weapon that gives -1 instant cooldown to AoE specials. May has excellent base attack, and we actually can get enough cooldown via Pulse Up and Times Pulse to charge AoEs every turn. This build can also trigger Glaciers or Frost Moon. For a more supportive kit, you can replace Lelena's skills with Pulse Up Ploy and a Discord B skill, Exposure, and Res buffing for more AoE damage. To activate the debuffs, you can stack Fly Resistance with Steel or Crystalline Water. If you can get Times Pulse Echo or maybe Emblem Mart's Ring, then you could save a slot for something else. Overall, Spring May is a decent green mage, but we literally just got Gris. If you want a non-5-star offensive mage, well, it's kinda tough to beat a free Brave Town. Luckily, Truthfire is a good option for May, and the AoE build is something a little different. As for Spring Air Egg, keep its defensive tempo effect in mind for the rest of this banner. Next up, Spring Eitr is a colorless Beast Cavalier. For stats, she has 40 HP, 46 attack, 48 speed, 35 defense, and 21 res. She has a speed super boom, and Eitr is kind of the typical offensive Beast Cavalier with low res. For old skills, Eitr is going to get Nimble Beast, so very solid speed-based damage special with unpierceable %DR. Eitr's got her own weapon this time called Petal Dream Horn. For foes within 3 rows or 3 columns, they lose -5 stats, they're inflicted with guard, and if they have field buffs, Eitr will allow her team to sort of steal them. If the foe has a +6 buff, they're going to get inflicted with -6, while Eitr gets +6 in combat. Do this for every stat. For personal effects, Eitr has Slaying. If above 25% HP, she gets bonus stats equal to the number of foes within 3 rows or 3 columns, times 3. If there are 3 foes in range, she can get plus 9 stats. In addition, Eitr deals true damage and gets flat damage reduction equal to 20% speed. She will heal 7 HP after combat. The theme for this year's Spring Banner is Crux debuffs with varying effects. To combo with May's defensive tempo, Eitr brings Guard. Have a guess at what the next unit brings to the party. Now, in addition to Guard, Eitr gives allies Freya's buff stealing mechanic. I think this is the first time it's been turned into a support buff, so you can now stack it. For example, if you have Spring Eitr and Freya fights a foe in this Crux range, then a plus 6 buff on the foe would inflict them with minus 12 attack in combat. Meanwhile, Freya would get plus 12 attack. Decent sized stat swing, although the foe can still use their field buffs for, say, bonus doubler. Next, Eitr's personal A skill is Nihility's Undoing. It only shares one main effect with the rearmed ult's version. First, Eitr gets the Fortune A skill Easier Transformation effects. She can be next to multiple human allies or just 2 spaces of any beast or dragon. She can also transform immediately in Eitr Raid's defense. For combat, Eitr gets plus 8 to all stats with an extra plus X. She has breath type cooldown and 50% DR piercing. Eitr then has the Excel A skill flat DR effect. X is the number of spaces moved up to a max of 3. This means Eitr can get plus 11 to all stats and then 12 flat DR for all hits. This becomes 24 when a special triggers, and Eitr actually gets the first flat DR effect on enemy phase. Regular Excel skills don't do that. Very solid unique skill, Fortune makes it easier to transform. For a Beast Cav, that can give them 30% damage reduction if you move 2 spaces. You also get extra debuffing based on movement. To add to her buff stealing, Eitr really stacks a lot of stats for herself, and you get flat damage reduction to combo with Nimble Beast's percent DR, add in cooldown and 50% piercing for a well-rounded unit. To fill in more missing effects, Eitr brings the inheritable Bestial Agility. This is essentially the same as Bestial Assault. Instead of the 50% DR piercing, Agility grants full no follow-up if you outspeed. The other effects are all the same. Near Trace 4 Kanto, Speed and Defense debuffs, and then true damage that scales off the higher of Speed or Defense. Bestial Agility still has the awkward prereqs of Beast Agility or Beast Follow-Up, not easy to get skills. At the very least, you can pass along the 4 tiers of this skill with Nimble Beast. Maybe you can combo with Rearm Eitr's fodder. Generally speaking, Spring Eitr is just a well-rounded speedy beast who kinda has everything she needs. We got easier transforming, slang plus breath type cooldown, percent DR with flat DR, 40% speed is true damage, 50% DR piercing, full no follow-up, and a good Kanto effect. What makes Eitr unique is that Crux support. Guard is a bit iffy, but not a terrible effect, especially with defensive tempo and scowl. If you're not able to neutralize enemy field buffs, the busting effect can help stat swings in your team's favor. Eitr herself kinda stacks a lot of stats, so don't underestimate her. Since she has so many other perks already, the C slot would be great for attack and speed inside home. Hopefully we'll see it back on more units. Self and team buffing, plus you get more in combat stats. You could also run a regular inside skill or something like a smoke debuff. If you did want to change things up, you could outsource no follow-up and run Eitr with something like Emblem Sigurd or Legendary Sakura for Kanto. You could then add other skills such as Potent or Momentum. If you can pre-charge Nimble Beast, it would be possible to double proc it if hit back. Sadly, Eitr can't get no guard somewhere. Now, besides Momentum, another cooldown setup is Emblem Mart's Ring with Beast Threatens times Pulse. The panic effect on that skill does kinda mess with the buff stealing effect though. For other playstyles, you could use Gale Force, but you're gonna lose your unperishable percent DR skill. Sacred Seals are basically gonna be whatever stat boosters you want. Clash, Catch, Solo are all good. You could do Mystic Boost to just stack with Petal Dream Horn's own healing. Spring Eitr is a solid combative beast who has pretty much everything you could want already. She can help counteract enemy field buffing, and her guard support could combo with May's Spring Air Egg. Beast infantry units have tempo, so they're another decent teammate. We also got more tempo skills for the general infantry class around. Our third ult is Spring Veyle, who's looking very cute. Veyle is changing things up this time, being a Red Mage Cavalier. For stats, she has 40 HP, 40 attack, 28 speed, 16 defense, and 48 res. Very min-max attack and resistance for a Mage Cavalier, though Veyle has some leftover speed. She will have an attack super boon. A res boon would be good too, though maybe she doesn't really need it. For old skills, Veyle has Iceberg and Crystalline Water, more attack and resistance while she drops to 8 defense. She will prevent panic and attack and res debuffs from landing at start of turn. For her weapon, Veyle has the Gentle Fell Egg. At start of either phase, if within 2 spaces of an ally, Veyle grants the 80% damage reduction versus AoE special status, the Resonance Blade status, and then Resonance Shields to all allies. This is a 14-might tome, but Veyle also gets plus 5 HP and then plus 6 flat attack and resistance. She has Slaying, and if initiating near an ally, Veyle gains attack and resistance equal to 20% of her flat res stat, she deals true damage equal to 20% of your in-combat res, and she makes a free follow-up. Last, if Veyle has more than 10 resistance over the enemy, she gets Brave attacks. You may have recognized that Spring Veyle is a combination of her Mythic and Fallen ults. Mythic brings along Resonance Blades and Shields with a follow-up. Fallen brings its Brave attack condition. Against tankier units, it's going to be tougher for Veyle to get those Brave hits, but she's going hard on the res stacking. Plus 14 flat attack and resistance with her weapon and Crystalline Water, and you get more attack and res in combat. Now, if you do get the Brave hits off, Veyle can potentially quad if not stopped. I do want to note the 80% DR against AoE status. There is no DR piercing for AoE specials. If foes cannot cleanse the status, then AoE damage will drop like a rock. If Breath of Life 4 is also on the team, it's going to be tough to make AoE damage stick. Moving on, Veyle has her unique Fel Majesty, also a sort of combo from her Mythic and Fallen C skills. For allies within 2 spaces, Veyle grants plus 5 attack and defense and res, she gives 7 flat damage reduction against first attacks, and she has her Fallen ult's Scowl effect that also works on follow-up attacks. This only affects ranged foes and only the first follow-up, so it may not stop a potent follow-up special. For the res check, you have to use Veyle's flat resistance and compare it to the foe's flat resistance. Now, for Veyle herself, she neutralizes adaptive damage. If initiating or near an ally, Veyle inflicts -5 attack on res, she gets 7 flat DR, Breath type cooldown, and the same Scowl plus follow-up Scowl effect. Unlike the ones for her teammates, Veyle is going to do an in-combat res comparison. This is how the normal Scowl skills work. If you liked Fallen Veyle, here's another Scowl support option. Mythic Veyle gave 30% DR support, but that's been swapped over to 7 flat DR. Generally speaking, a good change, though flat DR works best off of % DR. Now, for her new inheritable B skill, Veyle has attack and res Far Resound. It enables Conto remaining +1 with a minimum of Conto 1, inflict -4 attack and res on the foe. The rest of the skill is literally just Resonance 4, unless I missed something. Essentially, Far Resound is just Far Trace 4 plus Resonance 4. As such, it can be upgraded from either of those tier 3 skills, and it's only for Mage Cavs and Flyers. If you had a Resonance plus Far Trace Echo setup before, well, now here's a single skill for that. As usual, Resonance grants DR piercing and true damage, but it depends on your unit's HP. Veyle gets another 5 HP from her weapon, so she can hit 45 HP normally. This grants 50% piercing and 10 true damage. To cap out at 60% piercing and 12 true damage, you're going to need to hit 50 HP. If you like Mythic and Fallen Veyle, then Spring essentially gets the best of both worlds on a horse. Veyle needs flat resistance for her Scowl support on allies. She gets plus 14 flat res via Crystalline and her weapon. If you want to hit 50 HP for Resound, you can slot in a Squad Ace BU still, plus 5 HP with plus 3 attack and res. For combat, Veyle wants 10 more resistance to get Brave hits and possibly quad attack. With Slang and Breath type cooldown, she can trigger Iceberg on her second Brave hit. You could drop to a 2-common special if Guarded Defensive Temple are 2 common. If Veyle were to get hit first, she could also charge Glaciers or Frost Moon. That could be fun. Now if you have a godly amount of special cooldown support, then you can also just go with an AoE special. Veyle's base kit is great, but you could run Desperation or Occultist Strike for just pure damage output. Obviously, Veyle's follow-up is not guaranteed, and Hardy Bearing on any physical damage tank is just going to enter. Now, if you're fighting a Dragon tank, Veyle might be able to survive. She has Scowl, assuming you out-res them, and Resonance Shields does prevent one free follow-up. This is where Veyle's 28 speed might come into play. For a niche use case, since Veyle wants flat stats and has Resonance, you could run Double Fury with Resonance. With Fury 4 and Fury 3, you could dip under 60% HP, assuming she starts at 45 HP. Maybe you have a funny Wings of Mercy 4 setup going on. Besides her other various support effects, Spring Veyle complements our 2 Spring Crux effects. With Spring Air Egg, Eitr, and Veyle, you could give someone Guard, Defensive Tempo, and Scowl. You're not going to stop no Guard or Instant cooldown, but you can at least make it tougher to charge higher cooldown specials. This trio also grants quite a lot of stats for the team combined. This is going to get even crazier with our last unit. Our final unit for today is Harmonic Spring Plumeria and Olivia, double dancers, and we have a premium fairy dancer. To no surprise, this Plumeria is incredibly strong. She is a Lance Flyer with 40 HP, 45 attack, 17 speed, 34 defense, and 49 resistance, min-maxed for low speed, and she gets a res super boon. For old skills, Plumeria has Stronghold. She is the second holder of this besides Eitr. For more flat DR, with the ability to block at start of turn panic and defense res debuffing. Plumeria's weapon is the Springing Spear. Every turn, grant Conto 1 to allies within 2 spaces. For allies within 3 rows or 3 columns, Plumeria grants +5 attack and defense, 10 true damage, and preempt pulses -1 instant cooldown before attacking. For herself, Plumeria gets Near Trace 4 type Kanto, and another 3 res. If near an ally, Plumeria inflicts attack and defense debuffs equal to 6 plus 20% for flat res. Plumeria gets 10 true damage and flat DR. She also prevents 1 follow-up attack. More long-range support to combo with the entire banner. Plumeria can grant Kanto, true damage, and instant cooldown. She's going to be a very solid flying Kanto dancer. Plumeria will primarily be using her Dreamlike Night Dance. Grant another action to an ally, and if Kanto was triggered by that ally, then refresh their usage. In addition, inflict -7 attack, defense, and res, frozen, and sabotage on the closest foe, plus allies within 2 spaces of that. Not only is Plumeria dancing her friends, she's dancing their Kanto effects too. With the absurd Valentine's banner and then Legendary Sakura, it seems like Kanto is just getting out of hand. Besides the extra actions, Plumeria inflicts very strong debuffs. She can avoid at start of turn cleansing, and with sabotage, she basically applies -14 attack, defense, and res. She's also the 3rd unit, I believe, with Frozen. Frozen can allow high defense units to outspeed faster enemies. It's really powerful for middling speed units with high defense. For their Harmonize skill, Plumeria and Olivia can give Resonance Blades to allies from Heroes of Awakening. If Plumeria has not fought in the current turn, she gets another action, and her own Kanto is refreshed. Basically, instead of the second dance button like other dancer duos, Olivia is going to dance Plumeria. You then use Plumeria to dance again. This can refresh Kanto for more allies and apply more debuffs. In addition, Plumeria gets another Kanto action herself. This is relevant because Plumeria has Shadow Smite 4. During the Kanto action, you can use Smite to push an ally 2 spaces. The user can get +3 stats in combat and 7 HP healing if near an ally. Shadow Smite isn't necessarily better than Shadow Shift, but it's good if you can't get in front of an ally to reposition them forward. For example, an ally moves up, Plumeria dances them, and then sends out her debuffs. With her Kanto, she can now smite that same ally forward. The ally can move normally and benefit from Plumeria's debuffs from her dance, plus her long range buffs via her weapon. Hit the Harmonize skill button, and Plumeria can do this twice in 1 turn. For the last new inheritable skill of today, it's Defense and Res Discord, another variant for the Discord B skills. If you have higher res at start of either phase, you can inflict attack, res, and discord on grouped up enemies. In combat, you get more defense and res penalties the more foes have discord on the map. Additionally, you get true damage equal to 15% resistance. This skill can be cleansed by certain units, but it's another support tool for our dancer. Technically, the defense and res debuffing overlaps with Dreamlike Dance, but they're not going to be active without Plumeria dancing. It can be more debuff coverage depending on the enemy layout. There is no doubt that Harmonic Plumeria is a very strong unit. All the fairy dancers have innate advantages since their unique dances are so loaded. Plumeria offers a lot of things, including Kanto support, Kanto refreshing, mid-phase debuffing with sabotage, and long-range buffs. You got 10 true damage, preempt pulse, and the super rare frozen. Really need to watch out because suddenly high defense tanks might be doubling. Now, Plumeria also has her own self-refresh. For other skills, you can't do Gale Force before the Harmonize skill. If you do want to get cheeky, Plumeria needs to use the Harmonize skill first, go attack and trigger Gale Force, then do whatever from there. It is going to be tough to get Gale Force without a lot of extra cooldown support though. When it comes to other support skills, you could swap off Shadow Smite for say Guidance for Warping, an actual Crux debuff, or a Tier 4 ploy. I don't know if the enemy AI can use Smite effectively. Instead of Discord, you can run a Tier 4 Dancer B skill. Force Him Dance 3 would be nasty since it's +6 attack and speed and desperation. Our new Frozen friends can take advantage of that. As always, Wings of Mercy is a great pick to save the day, though Plumeria kinda wants to dance before a fight breaks out. To get herself in range, you could use Aerobatics or Flyer Formation. These can go in the B slot too. There is also Air Orders 4 for Flyer teams and Tempest Skills for movement. Important to note, you cannot use Rain Snap on a dancer to give +1 movement to multiple allies. Regardless, Harmonic Plumeria is excellent. Kanto is getting out of control, and this is a dancer that can refresh Kanto for any unit. If you want aggressive initiations, Plumeria has excellent buffs and debuffs to support that. She even has the fun Shadow Smite for extra positioning possibilities. All in all, very strong unit. That will be it for this year's Spring Banner. Together this group is quite the menace. So many support effects that extend across the map, and you can assemble the Guard Defensive Tempo and Scout Anti-Special setup. As always, if you don't have a good dancer, this Plumeria is going to be amazing. Next up, for tackling the Tempest Trials event, you can earn Spring Long Coup and have a pretty solid Sacred Seal coming. We'll talk about these more next time. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.